Juan Soto isn't an all-star? What other lies will I be told? That's like the government telling me that Jeffrey Epstein had no client list and that he killed himself. Oh, wait. So with the All-Star game being right around the corner, we have the roster set, which will inevitably bring controversy, but there are some wild picks this year, whether it's guys on the roster who don't deserve it or guys not on the roster who more than deserve it. Really quick, if you're part of the 57% of viewers not subscribed yet and enjoy the videos, consider hitting that button, as the Home Run Derby has a great lineup. I love that. Obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr. in his home field, that'll be cool. James Wood gonna get America all wooded up with all the balls he's gonna take deep. Someone in the crowd might get decapitated with O'Neal Cruz in the mix. There's this video of Cal Raleigh 20 years ago as a kid playing home run derby in his backyard with his dad, and now 20 years later, he will be participating in the actual derby with his dad pitching to him while he leads all baseball in home runs. I mean, that's sick. Now, let's start with the American League rosters. I would say everyone who made it as a starter deserves it other than one guy, but even that one guy, I don't hate being there. Jacob Wilson being the starting shortstop in the All-Star game as a rookie is very cool. Tigers fans showed out for their guys to represent 2/3 of the outfield. Javier Baez's redemption arc has been insane. Riley Green obviously deserves it, being the two-way player he is. He's been great and makes music. But yeah, as great as Javier Baez's redemption arc is, Byron Buxton should be a starter over him. That's my biggest gripe with the starters. Although, like I said, I don't even hate it. I think it's cool that Baez went from a walking meme and contract disaster to an all-star starter for a first-place Tigers team. Like, that's a sick comeback story, but Buxton definitely deserves a starting honor. Although, I guess him being in the home run derby makes up for that. I've seen some people say Jeremy Pena should be the starting shortstop, but I don't have an issue with Wilson being the starter. Basically, flip a coin between Pena, Wilson, and Bobby Witt, and whoever gets it, I'm fine with. They all equally deserve it. Here's my biggest gripe. Julio Rodriguez should not be on this roster at all. I love Julio. I think he's a fun player, but he's not an all-star with how he's been hitting this year. The stat WAR, wins above replacement, a stat that basically gives you one number to show how valuable that player is and how many wins he's worth to his team. Julio's WAR alone shows he would be an all-star, but this is one of those times where I'm just throwing that stat out the window. I don't care. He's been a bad hitter this year. And I understand his defense is immaculate, but you can't be a bad hitter and an all-star. Now, I get it. At the end of the day, this really is a popularity contest, so it is what it is, but that doesn't mean you can't point out guys who deserve to be there and aren't, and vice versa. Now, if you look at the American League this year, it's interesting. I feel like it's way weaker offensively compared to the National League. Ironically, the top two hitters in baseball this year are in the American League, Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh, but everyone after them to make up the top 10 hitters in all of baseball, they're all National League hitters. So other than Judge and Raleigh, again, ironically at the very top, there's no other hitter in the American League lighting the world on fire necessarily. There's a lot of good hitters, really good hitters, but nowhere near the caliber of Judge and Raleigh. Just felt like that was important to share. And I guess that has something to do with Julio Rodriguez and his poor hitting still making the roster. But right away, there's still some very obvious American League outfielders who should be an all-star in place of Julio. Every fan base across Major League Baseball has been lining up to compare their best outfielder to Julio. And the guy who I think deserves it the most is George Mother Flippin' Springer. Dude's having an awesome season. Now, by WAR standards, that stat would tell you that Julio Rodriguez has been worth 2 whole more wins than Springer, because Springer provides no defense. He's a designated hitter. So the logic is elite defense paired with painfully average hitting is worth a lot more than great hitting and no defense. I understand that logic, but I don't think it's worth that much more. I think that's where it's just kind of flawed and dumb. Defense is awesome. It's very valuable, but at the end of the day, hitting should be the most important thing to look at when it comes to if you're an all-star or not, or how much money you're making. It's why people making such a big deal out of Juan Soto's bad defense in the outfield has always been dumb to me. Like, yeah, I'll take bad defense any day of the week if it means a generational hitter who's only 26 years old. Yeah, I'd much rather have that than Julio Rodriguez. Again, love Julio, but speaking of Soto, insane snub. So now we're on the National League side, and just like the American League side, I'm good with every starter on the National League roster except for one. It's just like the Javier Baez situation. Tigers fans showed up to represent 2/3 of the AL outfield, and Cubs fans did the same for the NL outfield. But like Buxton should be a starter over Baez, James Wood should be a starter over P. Crow Armstrong. Not gonna lose sleep over it, not the biggest deal, and PCA has been awesome, and like Buxton, I guess Wood participating in the Derby makes up for it. But nothing makes up for Juan Soto not being on the roster. I mean, come on. Now, the way the All-Star rosters work, if you didn't already know, which I assume you do, but if not, that's fine. Every team must be represented, which makes sense. Look, it's a celebration of the stars on every team coming together. Every fan base has at least one person to be proud of, and that includes the Rockies. So as bad as the Rockies have been, they do need at least one player represented. But the downside of this is it limits the amount of stars becoming all-stars who deserve it more. It's like baseball's version of DEI, I guess, if you want to describe it that way. So there's only so many spots, and because Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, and Edwin Diaz made it to represent the Mets, and because every team has to be represented, Hunter Goodman and Kyle Stowers made it over Juan Soto. Hey, shout out Hunter Goodman and Stowers. I'm happy for them, but those aren't exactly stars. Juan Soto is a star, and not having him at the All-Star game is just blatantly neglecting one of the game's biggest stars, which is unfortunate. But it's not even just Goodman, who, by the way, is a catcher, so he doesn't directly affect Soto as much. Stowers is an outfielder, though, and so is Fernando Tatis Jr., a guy who's having a good season, but not an all-star season, especially compared to Juan Soto. Andy Pages, I think, deserves it more than Tatis, so he got snubbed, but Soto got double snubbed. I'm happy with like 98% of these rosters, and I get why some of these snubs are a thing. Fan voting and every team having to have a representative will never make all-star game rosters 100% fair. I get it. But Julio Rodriguez being on it over some other outfielders in the American League who have been hitting just way better, and Juan Soto not being on it while having a better season than half the outfielders on the roster, it's just frustrating to see. I'm going to start live streaming more on this channel, by the way, so DM me your hot takes on Instagram or just anything you want me to react to on a future stream and you'll be featured. So yeah, thank you for watching. Love you. Bye.